Like I can already feel like you guys are gonna like do cool stuff.
Into the motive.
Just being good to one another.
Yeah.
But
You guys are doing a good thing here.
The people at the top collaborate, and the
Yeah.
people that are at the bottom compete.
Yeah, it resulted in me shooting him.
I was charged with 109 and a 50.
Ultimately, you'll get to where you want to go if you push yourself enough.
I genuinely love this conversation.
I love the Motive Podcast.
Welcome back to the Motive Podcast. I'm your host, Leo Kosuch. Alongside me is my co-host, Kyle Cohen. And joining us today, one of the world's most renowned violinists and the concertmaster of the Philadelphia Orchestra. Guys, please welcome a very special guest, Mr. David Kim. Thank you for being here.
Kyle and Leo, it's a pleasure to be with you, and thank you for having me on.
Of course, of course. So I know there's so much to talk about here, but I want to kind of go back to where it all started. Where did music begin for you? I know you grew up in South Carolina, I believe, and it's not exactly the place I think of when it comes to classical music or music in general. But what was the culture like down there? What was growing up in South Carolina like, and what was your early childhood life? If you could tell us about that.
Well, my parents came to this country in the early 1960s. A lot of Korean people came after the Korean War with no money, just trying to get further their education. They were highly educated, future doctors, future accountants, future um, academicians, college professors, and my parents were the same. They came here, and when I was conceived, when my parents found out they were pregnant with me, my mom, who was a pianist in her native Korea, just decided that's it. I'm going to have a son and one child, and I'm going to train that son like an Olympic athlete. And that son is going to become a world famous concert violinist. And that was exactly what she decided when I was still literally in utero. And so when I turned 3, Santa Claus brought me a 1/8 size violin. They're about so big. And, it was just daily, super rigorous, disciplined practice. I had a practice teacher coming over to our house every single day to work with me, of course, weekly lessons. And my mom also had a philosophy of you practice a little bit more each day than you did the day before. So, it just kept increasing. So my parents were still getting their master's degrees, doctorate degrees. So we moved around a little bit. So I started playing the violin when we were in Rochester, New York. And then from there, we went to Pennsylvania, near Pittsburgh. And then from there, we went to South Carolina. So I spent about 5 years in South Carolina. And it's it was a great time. I loved South Carolina. Loved living in the South. And no matter where we lived, um, by the time I was 8, my mom had taken me to New York to the Juilliard School of Music, one of the great conservatories in the world, to audition for the great Dorothy DeLay. She was one of the most famous teachers of the 20th century of the violin, and she accepted me. So no matter where we lived, I would travel periodically to New York City to take lessons with Dorothy DeLay, attend the Juilliard School. That started when I was about 8. I was at Juilliard by the time I was 10, and
Wow.
it was just very intense childhood.
Right. How did you adapt to that being pushed? Did you enjoy it and embrace it right away, or was there definitely some pushback? Were you reluctant to practice all that stuff? How did you treat it?
Well, it's kind of complicated. It's funny whenever I see these child prodigies, whether it's in tennis or golf or music on the concert stage or chess or it doesn't matter what, biology. I'm not sure, but from my experience and speaking with a lot of my friends and people who have gone kind of on the similar path of this incredible um, journey from like being a child prodigy to being a professional. there's collateral damage somehow, always, um, between, well, in the psyche of the child, um, the relationship between child and parents. I mean, I don't want to over dramatize it, but by collateral damage, I mean, parents make mistakes. They're too ambitious. Sometimes they push too hard. Um, so there's psychological kind of baggage, and I think that happens whether the child is trying to become the world's greatest pickleball player or not. Um, just parenting is tough, and we all have parental hurt somewhere inside, and we all have regrets as parents. You guys wouldn't know, you're not parents yet, but at some point you think to yourself, wow, I really messed that up. I should have been more sensitive or more caring and more careful with my words and things like that. But all that being said, I do believe that a great career in, let's since we're just talking about the violin and music, classical music, I think it's just about impossible to have a major career, a real career in classical music without the help and support, and I would say push from behind of parents. You just can't just have a kid say, you know what, I'm going to be the world's greatest, and then just kind of just practice really hard and love it and stuff. It's a lot more complicated than that. It takes a ton of resource, time, money, for lessons, travel, just buying a violin, all these things to become a world-class musician. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Once you started to get that label of like child prodigy on your head, did that add any more pressure on your mind, or did you kind of embrace that as well?
Well, Leo, I just kind of almost assumed that it was the truth because all the signals were pointing in that direction, meaning I was playing on television shows, national television shows, being featured in national magazines and publications. I was studying with one of the world's great violin teachers and achieving great success. So I kind of never knew anything different. And for better or for worse, everybody around me, my parents, my teachers, they all spoke to me as though it were a foregone conclusion that I would become a performing professional, like not just a professional, but really reach the top of my profession. And so, yeah, I just kind of assumed that it was going to happen. And that probably very naive of me because there were moments when I thought it wasn't going to happen as an adult. But yeah, it just being a child prodigy it's fun in many ways because you receive so many accolades and opportunities and you get to travel and all that stuff. But there's also a tremendous amount of pressure that comes along with it that words can't describe. That kind of the weight of the world on your shoulders and expectations from those who love and support you. That can be crushing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Do you remember the first public performance you put on as a young student?
I don't really. I do remember the first few, like little things like performing at the local library during their lunch hour concert series, or for a group of ladies who had a social club, or things like that. And I remember being paid like $5 for a performance, and I just thought I was living large. I just thought this is awesome. I'm getting paid finally. So
Yeah.
those were when I was like 5, 6 years old.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. And so you mentioned Juilliard and you mentioned starting to go up there at age 8. What was that whole process like and getting into Juilliard and being in that environment at such a young age? Can you walk us through like schooling in general, whether that was like academics, music, and everything combined?
No, well, Juilliard, they have, of course, the regular conservatory, one of the great music schools in the world.
Right.
But on Saturdays, they have what's called the pre-college division. And there are many pre-colleges for music all over the world, really. And they always meet on Saturdays. And so you can have a wide variety of players. Of course, they've got to be to a certain level to get in, but many of those kids are going to end up not going into music as a profession, but they excel, they love it. So they come on Saturdays and they take the same basic curriculum as they would at the conservatory level. Ear training, solfege, which is like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. Um, Sight reading, being able to look at music and play it without knowing it beforehand. Reading different clefs, bass clef, treble clef. Um, Music theory, music history, chamber music, which is small ensembles like trios, quartets, orchestra, which is like an ensemble of maybe 100. And then, of course, private lessons, 1 hour lesson with your instructor. And
Yeah.
it's just, it's it's a great way to accelerate the learning for these young people. And it was very stimulating to me and fun because of course, I had lots of friends that I loved and had great affection for at school, at home. But on Saturdays when I went to Juilliard pre-college, I would be with like-minded, equally driven, equally pushed young people, and we could share the same language, which is classical music. We were all going for the same goals. We all had these super intense parents, super intense teachers. We were all performing on stage. All these things combined made it really exciting to be with these super talented friends. And they are all still friends of mine to this day through my whole life.
That's awesome. Yeah, we talk about on the podcast here a lot surrounding yourself with, people that are better than you in a lot of the ways to push you to that level. So it's great. It's great to hear that connecting at Juilliard. And what would you say the biggest lesson you learned from Juilliard was? Was there anything that you took away in specific?
Well, I was at Juilliard for so many years. I was at pre-college for 7 years, 6 years, and then at the upper school for undergraduate and masters. And then I kept returning for lessons even after I was done. Um, I can't really say that I learned one particular lesson because I just changed and learned so much just from being in that environment for so many years. Um, I guess some of the things I could mention are that perfection is overrated. When you're in an environment like that, we get so caught up in trying to be perfect, and it's something that I still struggle with. At the Philadelphia Orchestra, for instance, last night we did a 5 hour opera by Richard Wagner called Tristan and Isolde. And I mean, it's got a zillion notes, 5 hours. That's just really, I haven't done that in my entire career, play a 5 hour concert.
Wow.
And afterwards, all I could think about was like two notes that I missed. One is I looked at the wrong line and I made a little mistake, which nobody noticed. Maybe my stand partner noticed, but other than that, probably nobody noticed. And then another place where maybe other two notes that I missed an accidental, like a flat on a note. After 5 hours and thousands of notes, all I could think about was those darn tiny little mistakes. And really, that's such a mistake on my part. I should have enjoyed much more the experience of this incredible opera. So I have to keep reminding myself, come on, stop being this ridiculous, neurotic perfectionist. And there's no benefit in perfectionism because there is no such thing as perfection in this world. And we will never achieve it. And it's just, that was something that I wish I had known and had digested a little bit more when I was at school. Um, and then I guess the other thing is, I wish I could have been able to see into the future, and that is to see that there are so many different pathways to a life in professional some industry, whether it's somewhere in music or somewhere in medicine or somewhere in broadcasting or somewhere in media or sports. It doesn't matter where you are. There's so many different pathways. And when we're young, we think we have it figured out and we think, oh my gosh, I must go to this school because they are really strong in media. And from there, I'm going to get an internship at ESPN and I'm going to move to Connecticut. And then from there, I'm going to move on to be an anchor on Sports Center. And then from there, I'm going to be a local news anchor for a network. Just we think we have it all figured out and that we know the path. But the fact is, there are many twists and turns along the way. And the more one is open to that, the more wide and interesting the path ahead becomes. So the more that you can say, you know what, sure, I'll try that. And then pivot, and then try something else. And then you might go back to the old path. But this kind of experimenting is really what these years in your 20s are for, to experiment, to see what the world has to offer, and to understand that you may not know yourself as well as you think you do. Your gifts may lie in a different area. You might think, oh, I've got to do this because that's where my strengths are. But actually, you might realize later, wow, I didn't realize actually this is a better path for me. This fits my personality better.
Yeah, I love that for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel like definitely that applies to our age with people going to college and things like that, and they think they know exactly what they want to do, and they think that if their plan doesn't go exactly according to how they thought it would go, then like they're like life is ruined, or like they're not going to have success, and that's just totally not the case. And I think that open-mindedness to your future and to what you can do in life is absolutely essential. So I love that.
Don't they say that the average is something like the average college student changes their major or path 3 times during their college years, something like that. And I think that's got to be true. I mean, maybe not necessarily changing my major from A to B or B to C, but definitely direction and pathway. I definitely could see at least 3 changes happening in a lot of people.
Yeah,
100%.
without a doubt. Who were some of your mentors and key teachers who inspired you and pushed you from any age, even now?
Well, now that I'm getting old, a lot of my old mentors are no longer with us. Um, and I guess if I look back, there are many people that I could call mentors. They may not have helped me for decades and decades, my whole childhood and life, but there might have been like a 2-year period where they took an interest in my um, performing career and given me some opportunities or taken a chance on me and invited me to play concerts maybe in a different continent. I consider those people all um, mentors. And as students go through the college years, high school, college, and then postgraduate, it's just so important that you keep your eyes open and realize when it's happening. And when you realize, oh my gosh, Dr. Jones I think they're a mentor. You don't have to say it, they don't have to say it, but you know that there's a certain deep affection, a deep caring. And so for me, obviously, my teacher, Dorothy DeLay, was much more than a mentor. She was critical to my entire career. And then along the way, there were many, many conductors who gave me opportunities to solo with their orchestras. Um, and then in some ways, it sounds weird to say it, but I have a few friends even who I would say, like my best friend who lives in New York, Peter. He's, just a couple of years older than me. We were roommates in college. I was best man at his wedding. He was best man at my wedding. Like we're just still best friends to this day. But in some ways, he mentored me, like helped me with, I played for him a few times, and he's like one of the greatest teachers in my life. So mentor does not necessarily mean somebody who is 70 years old and is exactly in your field. They could just be somebody that believes in you and gives you the confidence to take a chance, to go forward, to take a risk, to say, sure, I'll give it a shot. That sometimes that means being a mentor.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I want to talk about the Tchaikovsky competition, Moscow, all the stuff I've researched. Obviously, that was a big moment for your career. Can you walk us through that and that whole week or however long that time frame was?
Sure, Leo. That was I mean, nowadays I have to say there are so many competitions all over the world. Many, many countries, many, many international competitions for violin or piano or voice or cello or some competitions will change the instrument every time. But um, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, I think there were fewer competitions, and the Tchaikovsky was considered one of the biggest, held once every 4 years in Moscow. And yeah, it was certainly a turning point in my life. And when I went, I don't think I really went thinking I had a chance to do anything, but my goal was to make it through 3 rounds, preliminaries, semifinals, and get to the finals. And they accept 12 finalists, and then they award 8 prizes within the 12 finalists. And I mean, my goal was to somehow maybe get to the finals and win one of those 8 prizes. And I was very fortunate. My teacher, Dorothy DeLay, came up with this plan when I first arrived at Juilliard for college. She said, let's make a plan. Let's plan ahead and make a goal for you. And so that was in 1980. And the next competition in Moscow was coming up in 82. And she said, that's too soon. Let's make it your goal to go in 1986. So for 6 years, I really worked hard with the prize in front of me to be accepted to go to the Moscow competition. And so when I went with my best friend Peter and many other friends, at that time the Tchaikovsky competition they would hold it for like 4 different disciplines at the same time, simultaneously: violin, cello, piano, and voice. And we all went there for a month. And that's when the Iron Curtain was firmly still up. I mean, communism was alive and well. It was, in many ways, very scary to go there. And there were microphones everywhere. We were always shadowed by a kind of person who was keeping an eye on us. We didn't have any independence while we were there. We were watched. Um, the hotel was horrible. This famous huge hotel called the Rosia Hotel. The food was pretty lousy, but it was one of the most exciting, experiences, moments of all of our lives to be able to go behind the Iron Curtain to compete. It was for us, it was like being at the Olympics. And yeah, being there for a month was just amazing. And I'll, of course, never forget it. I cherish all those memories. And because of that victory, not victory, but because of the success I had in that competition, for many years after that, I received many invitations to play concerts and make recordings. And just, it really, to a certain extent, it launched my career as a soloist. And it was an incredible privilege.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so I want to talk about from there. I don't know where the best place to transition is from that moment, but I know so you joined the Pittsburgh Symphony, but that was a little later than expected from my understanding. Can you explain like the timing behind that and eventually joining the Pittsburgh Symphony?
Well, your impeccable research has finally let you down. Not Pittsburgh Symphony. I joined the Dallas Symphony in Texas.
Okay.
Um,
Were you in Pittsburgh?
I lived near Pittsburgh as a
Okay,
child,
maybe.
and
Okay.
and I performed with the Pittsburgh Symphony at a few points. But um, so I came out of Moscow, and I'm playing concerts, and I'm like almost reaching that A level soloist uh, plateau. Like I'm playing some great concerts, big cities, traveling around the world, but not quite having enough traction to just stay there. And as
Okay.
I reached my late 20s, early 30s, the important concerts started to disappear, and I was playing more small towns. Like for let's say that we were in Pennsylvania, instead of playing with the Pittsburgh Symphony, I might be playing with the Lancaster Symphony, which is not a bad orchestra, but I might be playing with a little bit smaller venue, a
Yeah.
smaller town. I might be playing in Shippensburg or, instead of
Right. Yeah.
Philadelphia and I I in the meantime, I had met my wife on the golf course. I went to Ohio to meet my uncle. My favorite uncle was a professor at Ohio State University, which is actually a very famous school for golf. Jack Nicklaus graduated from there.
Okay.
It's just a very famous golf school. There are golf courses there. Two of them are very famous. And this is in Columbus, Ohio. And I went over to visit my uncle. I had just taken up the game. This is right after Moscow. And we were in the parking lot of the Ohio State golf courses, and out walks this Korean American woman with a really deep tan and wearing an Ohio State golf uniform with a Ohio State golf bag and a sports car and a vanity license plate, like the whole deal. And I was like, whoa. And my uncle said, David, this is Jane Kang. She's captain of the golf team. And Jane, this is my nephew. Remember, I told you I have a musician nephew? Anyway, I just fell in love at first sight, and we started dating long distance, and then we got married, and uh, she almost became a professional and then just burned out on golf. She had played golf her whole life like I had played the violin, and from a pushy dad, a Korean doctor who just pushed her like crazy, and she burned out. And after trying to get to the LPGA, she just quit. And then she got her MBA and then worked for many years. And so she's working. We're living in New York City, and my important concerts are going down. Jane's working as a accountant at Price Waterhouse. And one night in my early 30s, we went to see a movie, and it stars Tom Cruise called Jerry Maguire. And for some reason, the story of the plot line of Jerry Maguire really resonated with me. It felt very familiar. Basically, he's a sports agent, not a big one, but he almost reaches the A level, can't maintain traction, and then falls down, meets the girl. And then at the end of the movie, in true Hollywood fashion, he gets redemption. Great movie. But for some reason, that movie really resonated with me. And in the middle of the night that night, I came downstairs and I had an epiphany that I was not going to receive that one big break or that phone call and really become like Yo Yo Ma. And it just hit me. And all that stuff that people had told me my whole life, like, oh, you're going to be a big star. It finally hit me that that's not going to happen. And I realized I needed to get a job. And for me, that meant trying to become concertmaster of a major orchestra. And concertmaster means first chair violinist of the first violins. And you're kind of the quarterback of the orchestra. And that's the biggest pivot of my life. And I started auditioning from there. And Did not have much success for the first several auditions. Cincinnati, Chicago, Philadelphia wouldn't even let me come and audition. They sent me a discourage letter. Based on your
Wow.
lack of experience, we discourage you from coming. New Jersey Symphony. I just couldn't even get out of the first round. But as I started learning this new language of auditioning for an orchestra, different repertoire, different style of playing, I started having some success. And the first job I won was associate concertmaster, second chair of the Dallas Symphony. And so we were there for 1 year. And while we were there, Philadelphia invited me up for a private audition. And it was just kind of a miracle. And that's been 26 years now. And so we've been here for 26 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing. So was that kind of the point once Philly invited you here and you got into the Philadelphia Orchestra? Was that kind of the point where you kind of made it and you kind of arrived? Would you say?
Well, yeah, I thought that I had, but little did I know, when you become uh, a key player in any organization, whether it's you become suddenly the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, or you become the ace pitcher for the New York Yankees, or you become the concertmaster of the Philadelphia Orchestra, that's when the learning begins. And that's when you really must be able to listen and to learn and to change and to accept constructive criticism. But um, I was full of ego and self confidence and some arrogance. And I just thought, all right, world, here I am. I made it. I'm now concertmaster of the Philadelphia Orchestra. But what a mistake that was. And I didn't realize the scope of the job, which is that it's not just how you play the violin, it's how you lead, how you speak to people, how you treat people with respect, how you, again, are a good listener. Being concertmaster of a big orchestra means you have to help with fundraising, you have to serve on the board of directors, you have to um, interact with many different people, audience members, your colleagues, different instruments. Um, it never ends, and so I'm still learning after 26 years. And there are so many days I'm stepping into the concert hall from the street, going in through the stage door, and I've got incredible butterflies because I know that every day presents new challenges, and the learning never ends. And I have to always remind myself to uh, maintain humility and be a good listener, speak to people with respect, learn from my mistakes, hopefully, and just keep moving forward and being a positive force at work.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear. After 26 years, it's still fresh in a lot of ways for you, and you're continuing to evolve within your field. What advice would you have for a musician trying to make it into an orchestra, especially like a Big Five orchestra?
Oh, that's awesome that you use that term Big Five, Leo. Big Five, for those who are listening in who might not know, it's kind of a mythical Big Five. Um, in the United States, of course, almost every city has its own orchestra. But the most historic ones, the oldest, the most historic ones, most celebrated the world over are Boston, Cleveland, Chicago, Philadelphia, and New York. That's the mythical Big Five. Um, and they are filled with star players at every position: principal oboe, principal clarinet, principal horn, principal bassoon. All these stars, first chair cello, first chair bass. It just goes on and on. Um, but I would say, if your goal is to join a major orchestra, time is a wasting, and you should start preparing now, today, whether you're in high school or first year of college. um, you should start learning the orchestral repertoire as early as possible. You should be listening. Your earbuds should be in all the time when you're eating, when you're walking across campus. Um, you should be listening, marinating your soul with orchestral music. And then musicians, young musicians, spend their summers at festivals all over the world at some incredible spots, but making sure that you're going to fantastic music festivals in the summer that excel at orchestral training. Um, and kind of even choosing a college and choosing a teacher, all this stuff predicated upon finding the right path forward to reach the orchestral promised land. Just going to any school because just going to a school because you've heard it's a really great place and no particular reason, and you've heard this teacher is inspiring. That's all good, but if you have this pathway in mind, I would look for a school that excels in orchestral training, look for a school that has a really wonderful orchestral conductor, go to a school and hopefully find a teacher that prioritizes not just solo playing, but also understands that it takes a broad knowledge of music, orchestral solo, to also play some chamber music, but really to have a broad knowledge of violin playing and repertoire.
Yeah, I love it. The next question I have, this is just something that fascinates me. I was talking with Kyle a little bit earlier about this, but can you tell us about your instrument and the violin you play? Because obviously, when I think violin, I think Stradivarius and all those prestigious brands. I know it's Italian, but could you tell us about your instrument, the process of choosing your instrument, and all that good stuff?
Well, I play actually two instruments. One is they're both, well, let me put it this way. Let me give a little context, but the great violins of the world, and there are many, people think, oh, they're so rare. They're not actually that rare. There are thousands and thousands of great violins all over the world, and they are in the hands of performing artists, students at conservatories, young people. Um, but the great violins were all made kind of like in the golden period is like late 1600s to kind of mid 1700s in central to northern Italy. And the epicenter of all that was a town called Cremona. And that's where Antonio Stradivarius lived, worked, and died.
Yeah.
And back in those days, in the early 1700s, you could just walk down the street and every shingle hanging out in front of each establishment and shop was probably shaped like a violin or a cello. And it still is like that. I visited Cremona last year, and I mean, you get out at the train station and there's a gigantic, like 50-foot tall sculpture of a violin. And then as you're walking down the street, everything is this violino cafe, violino ice cream, violino dry cleaners. Everything is violin related. And so I play two instruments. One is owned by the Philadelphia Orchestra. It was made by a man named J.B. Guadagnini in Milan in like the mid 1750s. And um, it was given to the Philadelphia Orchestra about 20 years ago by a retired mathematics professor at the University of Pennsylvania. He was a amateur violinist, and his name is or was Eugene Calabi, a wonderful man, and his wife Eugenio. And he gave it to the orchestra to be played forever, and that violin has been all over the world many times, and it's owned by the orchestra. They own about 11, 12 violins, and as long as I'm in the orchestra, I get to use it as if it's my own. My own violin is again made in northern Italy, in Venice, in the mid 1750s by a man named Francesco Gaffriller. And I bought that instrument in the 90s. And instruments are very expensive. The Guadagnini that I use, Dr. Calabi bought it for $10,000 many, many decades ago, and then it is now insured for $3.5 million. My own
Wow.
instrument is insured for a little over $500,000.
Okay.
So they are very healthy, and they are, we take very good care of them. But the fact is, they are antiques, and we take very good care of them. And we use like these fancy carbon fiber cases, and we are very careful about humidity and dryness and the weather and the barometric pressure. And we take it to special repair people to take care of them for us. It's like owning a fantastic old sports car. I don't get under the
Yeah.
hood and tinker with the engine. I take it to the experts.
Right. Yeah. What makes that era violin like? Why can no one replicate that nowadays? Like, what makes it so special?
Well, I think it's two things. One is materials, and one is craftsmanship. Um, the materials are kind of different now. I mean, with chemicals and the environment being different, and the air, and this wood is just raw materials are just different now. And
Yeah.
of course, with craftsmanship, I mean, what can you say? Like, why can't artists nowadays replicate Caravaggio or Van Gogh? Or, it's they can get close, but really when it comes down to it, like these violin makers, it's just the craftsmanship, the way they put the instruments together. It's just the varnish, everything. They're just amazing works of art. And when you put it under your neck and you pull the bow across it, it just resonates, and the sound is golden, and it's absolutely thrilling. And of course, Stradivarius's, which now start at about 10 million. Um, I've played Stradivarius's, and some of the great ones. There are about three or four that are considered like the creme de la creme. And it's I feel like I don't even have to practice. It just plays itself. It's just the sound is so golden, and it just glows, and it makes you a better player, and it responds without you just think about it, and it happens. So it must be like that driving an incredible like Lamborghini or something. I've never done that, but it must be something like that.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so you mentioned golf earlier. I know you're a man of many interests. Do you golf a lot? Are you an avid golfer? Would you consider yourself?
I am. Obviously, we're a golfing family. My wife and I play a lot of golf, and I wish I could play more, but I'm pretty busy with the orchestra and concerts and things like that. But I consider golf the most relaxing thing that I can possibly do. It's a wonderful way to spend a few hours with friends, and it's also a way to make connections, meaning warm friendships. Like being on the golf course with a board member from the Philadelphia Orchestra is a privilege, and we get to know each other. And it's a way for me to show my appreciation for their generosity to the organization. And so my wife and I really enjoy that part of the game, is the social aspect of it. And then my other kind of um, hobby is archery deer hunting. And I missed out on a lot as a kid. My mom was just so relentlessly making me practice that I didn't learn how to swim until I was an adult, and
Wow.
things like that. And when
Yeah.
I became an adult and I came to Philadelphia and I met some friends and they were hunters, it just hit me. I was like, wait a minute, I want to try that. And I did, and I loved it. And of course, as a hunter, you are unsuccessful 99.999% of the time. So it's not just going out there and shooting an animal. It's being outdoors and putting on camo on my face and hiding in a tree stand and sitting out there and for hours and hours in the cold and freezing my butt off and eating my peanut butter and jelly sandwich quietly, and all of a sudden that deer shows up, and then once I get the deer, I have to eviscerate it in the field and then drag it to my car and then take it to the butcher. All that whole
Yeah.
process is so different than playing the
Yeah.
violin.
Right.
And I really, really enjoy it. And then, of course, the part I enjoy the most is my wife Jane is a really wonderful cook, and she can make venison dishes and with
Oh
some
yeah.
nice, fantastic red wines. It's just nice to celebrate the wonderful gifts Mother Nature has given us.
Yeah.
That's right. Making me hungry. Oh my goodness.
Do you have a favorite course you've played on for golf? And I was talking with Kyle. We got the U.S. Open coming up this weekend, so in Oakmont in Pittsburgh. So, do you have a favorite course?
Yeah. I mean, I played Oakmont once, and it was so difficult. I mean, it is
Yeah.
thrilling to be there. It's an amazing course. When you're at the clubhouse, which is this huge, like Tudor mansion, you can look out and almost see the entire golf course. It feels like it's a square. And you can just look out and you can see the entire golf course just laid out in front of you. Many golf courses are, they are routed through trees and
Right.
forests
Yeah.
and um, parkland, but it's just a spectacular setting. I'm really looking forward to watching. But for me, my favorite golf course is, of course, where I'm a member. I'm a member of a golf course called Applebrook Golf Course Club, and it's in Malvern.
Yeah.
And it was designed by the great architect Gil Hans, and he's a member there. That's his home course. He designed it, and it's my happy place. And we have so many friends there, and I just feel like I know every inch of that property, and so many deer there. I've found so many antlers on the fairways, and it's just
Wow.
a fantastic place to be. I love it.
Yeah, we're in Westchester, so we have a lot of like friends and stuff that work there right down the street. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know it's a great
Yeah,
course.
yeah. A lot of our
Uh,
caddies come from Westchester.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Sounds about right.
And here's something that I didn't see on any research, but I was talking to my high school band director of like a couple months ago, and he was like, "You gotta ask David Kim about the accordion." He said he thought you were great at accordion. Is this true, or is this a urban legend?
That is an absolute urban legend. Incorrect. I've never played the accordion.
Wow. I'm gonna
That's so funny. I'm flattered because I would never think that anybody would think anything other than the normal. Oh yeah, he plays the violin. He's in the Philadelphia Orchestra. But wow, I actually have
That's funny.
incorrect information out there on me.
I'm gonna have to tell him that. That's great.
That's funny.
Which
What's
high
your
school?
Westchester
Which
East?
Great.
The story he told me was he was at like a music competition and he thought he saw you playing accordion, but it must have been someone else, clearly.
Well, I have to say that Kim is the most common Korean name in the world. Like,
Yeah.
of all Koreans on the earth, more than 40% are named Kim. So it's worse than
Wow.
Jones or
Right.
Smith or
Yeah.
Johnson. And so it could have been a different David Kim.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's possible.
So what's your kind of daily routine like as a current performer, as a teacher, practicing, all that stuff?
Well, I think about maybe once or twice a month, I travel somewhere to either teach. I teach at a conservatory in Macon, Georgia, the McDuffie Center for Strings at Mercer University. Um,
Okay.
or I go somewhere to give a concert. Could be Washington State, could be Wisconsin, could be Montana, could be Texas, could be Florida, could be Korea, could be France. Um, and then I have lots of concerts that I give in the Delaware Valley here also. So when I'm in town, I usually have some concerts, whether I might be invited to play on a series at a church. I play at many retirement communities in the Delaware Valley because let's face it, a lot of their residents are big orchestra fans. Some of those folks are too elderly, and so they can't get out to the concert hall. So I go there with my pianist and we offer concerts to them. So I do that probably 30 or 40 times each year in Delaware, New Jersey, around Pennsylvania. And I really enjoy doing that. There's such an appreciative audience. Um, so I have a kind of a pretty good routine when I'm at home, and that is I try to exercise a couple of times a week. Try not to let the belly get too big. Um, and as you can see in the background, Maisie, the dog back there, is I take Maisie for long walks. Um, and then my wife and I might play nine holes, which I really enjoy. I've got a lot of friends in the area, a lot of friends, and so might be getting together, drink some bourbon together, or couples dinner, have dinner at the club, things like that. And then, of course, what's most all-consuming is the orchestra. I'm at the orchestra 5 or 6 days and nights per week. And so that's a lot of time spent commuting, either on SEPTA in the train or driving back and forth to the concert hall. So, yeah, that's basically it. 3 concerts a week with the orchestra, 4 rehearsals a week, meetings, board meetings. That's that's basically my life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. Um, and I wanted to mention, are there any practice techniques growing up that you found like efficient that you still use a lot today, and that you would recommend?
Yeah, Leo, I would say absolutely the best advice I could give. And everybody's going to be like, "Oh, come on, and we're told that all the time." But that is to practice slowly. Um, when we're young, we're kind of a little impatient to improve, to learn a whole piece, to move on to the next repertoire. But it tests have shown that when you play and practice fast, something about the electrons in our brains, in our muscles, they don't remember. The muscle memory is not as solid as when you do something slowly. And um, you can read about many different skills in the world, including, well, sports, many sports related topics. And you'll see instructors from many disciplines saying the same thing, which is try practicing slow motion, very slow motion, and then somehow things kind of with repetition combined with a slow tempo, really slow. I mean, I call it super slow. It's just, it's kind of mysterious, but it does stick to you somehow. And if I practice really slowly before a concert for a few hours, like we call it woodshedding, if I'm in my
Okay.
dressing room at a concert hall and I woodshed for about 2 hours right before a concert, and it's hard for me to do that because I hate practicing. But when I do that, I play so much better. Um, it's not just playing through and fast and run throughs and all that. It's slow woodshedding, repetition. If and of course everything is not difficult. There are certain places that give me trouble, and those places I do 7, 8, 9, 10 times, super slow. And each time I repeat something, my body tells me something subconsciously. Meaning, like if something is not working, I'll repeat it really slowly, and I'll kind of listen to my body. I'll be like, wait a minute, that time I kind of did this with my wrist, and that helped me get my pinky over a little bit. Or I'll say, oh, wait a minute, that time I lowered the violin like a half inch, and that helped me get my pinky over. Or, oh, that time I kind of let my gas foot off the gas pedal. I didn't slow down, but I took off the momentum, and that helped me negotiate that little tricky spot. So I'm constantly listening to my body as I repeat, because when you get to a certain level as a musician, your body knows how to play the violin. It's just a question of problem solving. So there's going to be rare opportunities where you can't play something because it's too difficult. So it's just a question of problem solving and figuring it out. Slow repetition.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Was there ever a time, and we can relate this as like a learning experience, so it's not nothing too bad. Is there ever a time that you like messed up on stage as a pro or professionally, like significantly that still sticks with you at all?
Oh yeah, all the time. Um, like I was saying earlier, I fixate on the mistakes.
Hmm.
And it's terrible. It's a terrible feeling. I should be kind of celebrating the fact that I just got through it instead of fixating on being perfectionist and all that. So, yeah, there are many, many times where, I mean, I can't go into specifics because it's embarrassing, but there are so many times. I'll be specific. Okay. Like 2 weekends ago, I played with the Philadelphia Youth Orchestra at the Kimmel Center.
Right.
I mean, 100 young people on stage, all very gifted. And I played a Mozart violin concerto. And, I think it went pretty well. It's about a 25-minute concerto. And in the 25th minute, at the very end, I don't know what happened. It wasn't that I lost concentration or I stopped concentrating or anything like that. I just had a memory slip in the last, like the third line from the end. And it was embarrassing. And I was so mad at myself because I was like this close to pay dirt from the end and the big applause and oh, thank you and bows and curtain calls and all that. But no, I had to make this big flub 3 lines from the end. But, as we all say in the music business, you know what? Nobody got hurt. We're not surgeons and somebody didn't
Yeah.
suffer on the operating table. We're musicians and we go back, we practice, come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. It's so obviously music is taking you all around the world. Is there one concert hall or country or audience that you most enjoy performing in or that you visited?
Not one. There are many, but I guess if I had to name the top few, one would be in Moscow, the Great Hall of the Moscow Conservatory. That's where the
Okay.
finals were for the Tchaikovsky competition. Unbelievable place. Um, the Musikverein in Vienna. It's called the Golden Hall, and on New Year's Day you can always watch the Vienna Philharmonic performing with these gold statues, and it's
Yeah.
spectacular. Any concert hall in Korea for me is very, very special. I was born in this country, but I still feel my Korean roots. And not only did my mother, who passed away when I was only a teenager, did she teach me the violin, but she also taught me Korean. She spoke only Korean to me until the day she passed. And so I'm very fortunate and very grateful that I can speak Korean. Not perfectly, but I can converse, and whenever I play in Korea, at the end of the concert, I always make it my business to say a few words to the audience and to thank them, and they love it. They just love it and are so
Yeah.
proud that they have a Korean concertmaster of one of the great orchestras of the world.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I was looking through. I think I saw it on some video, but I think you were talking about how one of your heroes was Itzhak Perlman. And I think you got to play with him, could like once or probably multiple times. What was the first time playing with him like? Was that like a surreal experience for you?
Oh, yes, he was my hero, and for those who don't know, he was stricken with polio as a child, so he is in a wheelchair, and he is, one of the giants of the violin world for all time, not just 20th century, in the 21st century, but, he's still performing, and, he's got a bigger than life personality, and so, yeah, I mean, it's not just the first time, but every time he comes to perform with the Philadelphia Orchestra and he walks on stage, or not, excuse me, every time he comes on stage, and it's just an amazing experience to just be in his presence. He's got this aura and charisma, and the sound that he creates is just uniquely his. And so I'm just starstruck every time I see him. Same with Yo-Yo Ma. Those two guys are just uh,
Yeah.
otherworldly.
Yeah. So also, like, is there? I mean, you just mentioned two right there. Is there? You've gotten to share the stage with so many greats. Like, is there anyone else that stands out? And like, even from like sharing the stage with like Stin when the Philly Orchestra does the thing, like with Stin and artists that aren't classical artists. Like, what's that like?
That is thrilling. We don't do it often. Maybe once or twice a year, we get to share the stage with a non-classical performer.
Right.
So I'm very excited this summer that Leve is going to be
Oh,
Ooh.
singing with us in Saratoga Springs in our summer home in August. A big fan, and yeah, some of the ones that I really I'm just like, I treasure those memories and just was completely starstruck on stage. One, as you say, Sting, incredible artist, musician. Billy Joel, incredible. Stevie Wonder, um, James Taylor, oh, incredible,
yeah.
artist and just so touching. So,
Right.
some of those, from the classical world, Marta Argerich, the great Argentine pianist. Um, just so many. Every year they all come to play with the Philadelphia Orchestra, and whenever they come on stage, it's just a moment. And once in a while, I'll be that fan. I'll go backstage and ask them for a selfie.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt. Do you listen to any modern music, and do you have like favorite artists, favorite bands that you enjoy listening to at all?
We spend so much time playing our instruments, rehearsing, performing, that I don't listen to a lot of music when I'm not on stage with the violin in my hand. But
Yeah.
when I do, I like this funk group from Oakland from like the 1970s and 80s called Tower of Power.
Oh
Fantastic.
yeah. Tower of Power is
And
great.
yeah, yeah. And I like a lot of pop from the 1970s and 80s, Doobie Brothers, Steely Dan, Al
Yeah.
Jarreau, Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, all these guys are huge in my book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, all greats. Do you have a favorite composer or piece? If you had to pick just one or two, I mean, you've done so many, but is there one composer, one or two pieces that if you had to pick, there's one that's up there?
Yes. One is by the great Russian composer Sergei Prokofiev, and that would be the Romeo and Juliet suite.
Okay.
I just every time we play it, it's so moving to me. Another is by Richard Strauss, the great German composer, and that is the Four Last Songs. So moving. And then another favorite is Mozart. Not all Mozart. He created a lot of music, but a few of his particular works are just, to me, I can't get them out of my mind. They're in my soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
without a doubt. I forget one, but one of my favorites is the Prokofiev. I forget. I want to say it's ninth. I just remember as a kid, there's this video of Lon Lon playing it. I think it's the ninth. I'm not sure. I'm not.
Mhm.
But there's a video of Lon Lon playing it on. I think it's called Lon Lon Gone Mad. Have you seen it? Have you seen the?
No, I
It's
haven't,
on
but
YouTube. But he's going crazy, and he's like doing all these funny. He gets up and he starts talking to the camera. It's like a great video. It's like a 3 minute video. It's called Long.
I think it's Prokofiev's Seventh Sonata.
Maybe it's that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you're so close, and Long Long is a friend, and I'm a big
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah. Yep. Without a doubt. Is there a most challenging composer to play in your eyes?
For me, anything that's written modern is hard for me.
Okay.
I don't know why, but for me, um, it takes me I'm a slow learner when it comes to modern music. Music that was written in the 17th and 18th centuries, romantic, classical, impressionistic, no problem. I love it. Once I hear it, it's like embedded inside me. But modern music, I have a hard time, and it really takes a lot of effort for me to keep listening and try to become familiar with it, I have to write in a lot of fingerings and bowings and instructions, and so that's for me. That's hard. So it is it works out well because my stand partner Juliet Kang, she is a superb sight reader of music. Her brain is just works differently than other people. She's a genius. And so if we have a piece that is absolutely avant-garde and modern, I might give it to her. And then sometimes she maybe feels it's a little corny or saccharine, some of the music from the 19th century. So I might take some of those, which I enjoy. So it works out well.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna keep firing them off. Is there a like an audience favorite that you get tired of playing? Like, is there one piece that you've played so many times where it gets tiring, or no?
No. That's a nice thing about being in a big orchestra is that we play so much repertoire. We give something like 150 concerts a year. In the summer, we're playing 3, 4 programs per week. Just one rehearsal in the morning, concert at night. And so, of course, we end up repeating some of the great war horses and more popular pieces. But there's just a incredible variety, and there's never an opportunity for us to where we end up playing one piece for more than 3 or 4 times in a season.
Yeah. I was talking with Kyle. Is there a favorite conductor you've gotten to play under?
There are a lot of them, actually. There are so many geniuses, but I can rattle off a bunch, including Simon Rattle, the great English composer. Um, and my present conductor, Yannick Nézet-Séguin, one of my favorites of all time. Wolfgang Sawallisch, the great German conductor who hired me. Riccardo Muti. Um, there's so many, and some of the young ones these days are wonderful and so gifted. So uh, it's a mysterious art, conducting, and I don't know how they do it, but they are incredible geniuses.
Yeah. What is your thought on today's like musical landscape for classical music in specific? Like, what excites you about where we're heading? What's misunderstood about classical music, and how does it? What's the future like? Keeping classical alive and keep it thriving.
Well, I think one of the keys is getting people into the concert hall who have never been. Um, So if that means playing something that they might recognize or be interested in, like maybe me playing the Vivaldi Four Seasons, people say, "Hey, wait a minute, I recognize hearing that somewhere." You know what? I'm going to give it a shot. And this concert has like a cocktail hour before, and um, they have a party afterwards where the audience can meet the musician. If there's any way to get people into the concert hall. And once they're in, I feel like we got them because the music is so spectacular, so beautiful. And hearing a top level symphony orchestra is thrilling live. Of course, you can get the most um, expensive audiovisual equipment and stereo and all that and listen, but it's just not the same as being in the concert hall, seeing it live and
Yep.
experiencing it in a visceral manner. So I think we do have to continue being um, innovative and presenting music in venues that people might not expect. Like we've given concerts at like the headquarters for anthropology down on Columbus Avenue. We've given concerts in parks. We've given concerts, on the deck of a ship. All different places, and that breaks down barriers. So it's not just us wearing a tuxedo or tails and just regurgitating the same repertoire. It's being innovative and getting new people into the concert hall, including young people.
Yeah,
There you go.
without a doubt. I remember like you're talking about just being there. Obviously, it goes for a lot of musical performances. Like I remember, I think it was 3 years ago now. I watched you guys do the organ symphony, and like I love that's one of my favorites. Like once that organ just comes in, it hits those low notes, like you just feel it in your chest.
That's right.
Um,
Oh, that's
and
great that you were there.
yeah. And if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Hmm. Um, I think it would be to be more open to. I keep going back to this shifting, pivoting, different pathways in life, and I think that's what I would tell my younger self is be more open to changing your path, to um, not just being so focused on your definition of success, which is being a soloist only. Um, and I think I would have been able to enter this incredible life I've had earlier instead of not in my mid 30s, but earlier because I'm greedy. It's been such an incredible run, incredible life that I wish I'd had more of it. But now that I'm on the backside of my career, a few more years left, and then I'll walk away. And I'm just so grateful. But hindsight is 2020. Looking back and saying, "Oh yeah, if I had been able to talk to my younger self," that's easy to say now. But back then, I was full of piss and vinegar and thought I knew it all and knew how to do it. But boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kyle, so at the end of every episode, I'll give this one over to Kyle right here to end the episode.
So we like to ask all of our guests, do you have any advice for us, whether that's like, how to pursue your passions or any advice for us in general in life?
Yeah, it's not really my advice, but it's a famous author and a book that I really love. It's called Outliers. And Outliers should be required reading for all young people. And it's basically the story of success. And each chapter deals with a successful group or demographic. One chapter is on like a semi or professional hockey league in Czechoslovakia. One is on concert violinists. One is on Oppenheimer and the team that he put together to build the first atom bomb. But the gist of it all is, to be very compact, is to say you don't have to be the absolute best at what you're doing. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be good enough. You have to be proficient, professional, excellent, good enough. But you also have to have that other element on top of that, and that is people skills and be able to relate to people and be kind and warm and generous and to be a good listener and to be able to work with people easily. And that is just as important as the actual skill that you're trying to perfect or whatever industry you're trying to excel in. So just having the EQ, emotional quotient, being able to read people. Did you guys know that when you're communicating with somebody, over 80%, I think it's 84% of the communication is nonverbal. It has to do with my facial expressions. It has to do with my hands. It has to do with the tilt of my head. It has to do
Yeah.
with my tone of voice. It's more than 80%. And so if inside you are not warm and really truly feeling a connection with somebody that you're talking to, or you're being a fake at work and you actually hate that person, all that kind of stuff kind of seeps out. So people skills, being a warm person, being a good listener, being a good person to work with. That's the key to getting the job or getting invited back or getting hired or having somebody take a chance on you.
Love it.
Love
Yeah,
that.
appreciate that.
I'll have to add that book to my list.
Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Okay.
Easy
Cool.
read. So fascinating.
Awesome.
Love it. All right, well, David, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate your time, and I think this is gonna reach a lot of people. So we appreciate it. Thanks again.
Kyle and Leo, thank you so much. It was a privilege to be with you, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. Good luck with everything, and we'll see you down the road.
Thank
Thanks
you,
so
thank
much.
you.
Take
Motive
care.
Podcast signing off. Peace.